You can probably hear a little mutts barking in the background. Apartment life, eh? It was raining outside today. It was like 8 degrees, 10 degrees, just cold, raining. My hair gets wet. It just like curls up. It's like this little structure in the front. You gotta ignore it. I wanted to talk more about the archetypes today, the subconscious, how I'm kind of structuring everything, or how I'm learning how everything is structured in the subconscious. I know that I'm really getting a good understanding of the structure of the human psyche, right? Especially the male psyche, or the masculine psyche. It's like the deeper I go into the research, the clearer it kind of becomes, you know. You just kind of try and map it out and structure it in your head. You got the ego, right, which is like the emotion that's attached to the identity, right? It's the best explanation I can kind of articulate, right? The emotion the ego is the emotion attached to whatever identity you identify as, right? So if something that happens that affects you, you know, whatever you identify with, I mean, it affects you emotionally, depending on how you identify with, you know, whatever the hell you're going through, right? If that makes sense. That's the ego. So it's more your identity, your it's just made up of your entire life. It's made up of all your memories and your consciousness, right? Your ego is who you're conscious about, right? Of who you are, who you think you are. The archetypes are they're not related to the human creation, right? They're more, I mean, it's hard, you know, this is where you get, you know, theological or metaphysical, you know. The professors like to refer to them, you know, for the atheists, you could say the universal subconscious, which now they're really coming up with scientific evidence for it. I mean, they're just starting to break through, like, you know, pretty, what's the word that, like something you can study, right? Like it's a researchable, reviewable data. If that even makes sense, right? You know, it's the, I guess in theology, it's like the mythological aspect of our history, right, of human history. It's where all of our imagination and mythological concepts derive from, right? They derive from this tremendous, probably infinite energy source, this divine energy source, which are these archetypes, right? You can't. The human subconscious is like a tiny little fuel reserve, right? You got the archetypes that are like the mothership, right? You don't want to really completely identify with these archetypes. You don't want to be possessed by them. You don't want to be completely, controlled, possessed by the qualities, right? You alchemize. You want to learn as much as you can about all of the qualities, right? And how, over who knows how long, really, how human beings have learned to perfectly alchemize as much as they can, right? And you know what these historians and other psychologists, and, you know, theologians, like realizing now is that pretty much the human beings are just going through this circle of evolution, right? Coming out of from era to era to era. You know what I mean? Each era is I think like two to 3,000 years, right? It's evolution of consciousness. You know, it's like primal, primitive, universal psyche, the primitive understanding of consciousness, right? You look at what they worship, you look at how they practice, you look at the mythology that they invented, you know. You go through all the ages, you know what I mean? You start getting to the more civilized ages, you know, the Middle Ages, like, you know, closer to the first kind of empires, right? Like the Mesopotamians and, you know, then the Romans, the Persians. You see how the mythology and the theology evolves and evolves through era of consciousness, right? And it just kind of circles back, and then when it's close to the top, there's like we're reaching more and more and more awareness. It's like, think of your brain. It's like the light. It's like the moon, right? You got the moon. You got the cycles of the moon. And beginning's like the crescent, you know. And it's like a full cycle, right? And it's like we're getting to the peak of enlightenment. It's light. I mean, that's what the knowledge does. That's the light. It lights up the unseen. It's unseen. It's unconscious. You know. The more I learn about them, the more structured it's becoming. Right. I'm learning now that through the energy of these archetypes is where we get our human grandiosity. So we're just starting to learn really about the true meaning of our individual grandiosity as human beings, right? Our personalities are pretty much, all of our personalities are privatized, grandiose philosophies. Our personalities are really like individual religions. They're privatized mini religions, right? Because part of what makes up the personality is the ego that's drawing energy from this divine unconscious, right? These archetypes. You don't want to be overwhelmed. You can't connect like you don't want to connect the wrong size fuel line to the mothership, right? You can't connect like this massive freaking fire hose. You want to just moderate and regulate the consumption, right? Otherwise, I mean, you know, the fuel can just burst into your consciousness, and the energy becomes out of control, and you become psychotic, right? You become, possessed. So you just want to feed off the mothership, right? You know, your personality is kind of pathologizing into certain behaviors, and then you go through therapy and you learn and you study and you read as much as you can about this knowledge, and then you realize, my lover and my warrior are kind of at war. I'm being dominated by the lover quadrant of the subconscious, right? You need a bit more warrior, so you just kind of plug the line in, right? And you just moderate and regulate. You don't want to abuse the power. You don't want to be too curious of how much power and energy is in this unconscious divine source of energy, right? It's I got to read more about spiritual alchemy, a lot of this knowledge is really about moderating the energy in your brain, and being able to recognize what's happening and alchemize the energy that you're just being fed, to be able to understand what's happening to your consciousness. I don't know. Look, how much you got to be patient with the way I'm articulating everything, because I'm understanding now, and I'm kind of sharing as I'm understanding. I know in time I will be able to just become much better at painting the picture, right? Through this journey of healing and discovering the path, the true path, to that ultimate to the throne, the divine kingship. I mean, it's not about time, like I was just kind of debating about with a very close friend last night. It's like the in the astral plane, the metaphysical timeline. It's ironic because it's a line, but the time is irrelevant, right? It's metaphysical. The time isn't related to physical gravity, right? So the time doesn't really exist. It's the same path, you know what I mean? But the age doesn't matter. That's the hardest thing to accept about this alchemical potential that we have, right? Yeah, to be able to manifest correctly, right? Remember, you're always manifesting. You never stop manifesting. As long as you're conscious, you're manifesting, right? So just being able to align it, alchemize the energy so that it aligns, so that your subconscious aligns with the true identity that it recognizes, right? The ego and the archetypes, the subconscious and the conscious, right? It's, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Just not, combining, cooperating. It's just more acknowledging. They're both acknowledging a common goal, common objective, which is divine consciousness. I won't drag this one on too long. Otherwise it'll just keep getting, worse and worse. Yeah, I hope that kind of paints a little picture of where, how I'm understanding everything. And yeah, the more research I do, the better I will be able to articulate my understanding of the archetypes, especially the king and the warrior. I can talk a lot more about them, and I want to. The understanding is there. I have the right. I'm satisfied with my understanding, but I know I still need a lot more. I don't know, a lot more, but more time to be able to articulate it into words that make sense. Yeah, if you haven't already, you should check out the playlist Healing of the King. I'm going to start reading some books. So just one by one, I'll go through just a series of books. I just feel it's important enough to... The knowledge really felt very, very significant to me, enough to think that it was too important not to really, for me anyway, to kind of keep off the channel, you know what I mean? I truly believe that this knowledge could probably be broadcasted by, a different kind of trend, like my content. And I truly believe that the potential was there, that probably would never have been able to be seen, because, I don't know, trends, algorithms, it's I felt enough responsibility to put it out there, knowing that this knowledge and these books could really, really, really help a lot of people that would have never come across, if it wasn't for these just random weird algorithms. That's what really pushed me over the edge to make the playlist and to start reading, because. And I said I would probably say this way later down in the series, after I don't know how many books, just to kind of get that feedback and results first, to see if it really did manage to help as many people as I think it can. But I know it will. That's why I decided to start reading. So yeah, I'll post another one up. We'll go through more chapters on the other playlist. But I'll leave it at that. I'll see you again soon. See you soon.